My name's Aislinn Clancy, and I decided to run for council during the recent provincial election. As a parent, as a citizen of Ward 10, I'm concerned about climate change and I'm concerned about equity. I'm a social worker and I've seen how low-income folks, middle-income folks have been marginalized in the way our housing market is changing, and also how often the climate isn't prioritized in elections or by different layers of politics. So, I feel as a climate advocate, as a concerned citizen, that I can do a lot to contribute to helping our ward and our city transition off of fossil fuel. And I believe that I can do a lot to bring equity to our city so that all folks feel welcome, all folks have a roof over their head, and we have a livable planet.
Hi, thank you. My name is Peter Davis, and I'd like to thank Rogers for hosting this opportunity to speak to constituents. I have a background in economics and international studies, and I'm running for council because last February I noticed that a one-bedroom apartment in Kitchener region now costs $1,700 or $1,800 for a working family making minimum wage. That is rapidly becoming unaffordable. So if a family should happen to lose their accommodation for any reason, they are now at risk of homelessness, and to me, that is unacceptable.
I'm running for City Council because I believe I have a very unique experience and can make a substantial contribution to City Council based on that experience. I've been a lawyer for over 30 years, a trial lawyer in downtown Kitchener. I also sit as a deputy judge, helping parties to resolve their claims or deciding those if they can't be resolved. I'm an educator. I teach courses at Laurier. I'm a mediator as well, which requires me to help people resolve their disputes or their problems. I'm a small business owner, and I'm the father of 6. So I believe, based on this life experience that I have a significant contribution that I can make to the City Council.
I'm running for council because I believe there needs to be a change in politics. I believe that when change starts local, it's more sustainable, more effective, and more authentic. We've spent some time seeing what the worst in politics looks like. I believe it's now time to see what the best of politics can look like. This is my second time running, and I still believe in the vision I have for our community and for Kitchener. I've been spending this time, gaining more experiences, working in community development, and I'm really looking forward to serving Kitchener.
Why am I running for council? I believe that Ward 10, the Kitchener downtown, is actually on a tipping point. We are very slowly changing over, but we are definitely on a tipping point of changing over to the very high density area at the sacrifice of green space and a walkable downtown. The reason why I'm running is for the past couple of years, we kind of been stuck in a little bit of a political loop where nothing really changing. And I want to keep pushing that envelope a little bit. Not to say that nothing is actually going on, but I just want to make sure that we keep going forward and we keep advancing. The biggest problem we have is whenever we stop, and that's when we go backward. So that's why I want to move forward. That's why I want to run for the City Council. And also, I kind of, see a little bit of a void in the representation for downtown.
So why am I running for City Council? Well, for 2 reasons. I believe that representation is very important, and there are a variety of groups who have not seen themselves reflected in the makeup of City Council ever, or at least in a very long time, such as low-income people, renters, members of the LGBT community, and I believe that is important. Also, I want to affect positive change. So combined together, that's why I'm running.
I I've been going door to door, and folks are really worried about housing. They're worried about, and that's many layers. There's housing affordability, the increase in homelessness, as well as the future for their families and their ability to have a place to live. So I think the way that our city is developing is leaving folks behind. I hope that as a city, we're going to be growing, and I hope that we can grow in a manner that doesn't leave anyone behind and ensures that everybody has a place to live going forward. As a social worker, a lot of folks have been evicted in the last 6 months to a year, more than I've ever seen. And I hear the concern at the door about feeling stuck in a rental, that if they moved anywhere, they wouldn't have a place to live, or that their kids, they won't have a home of their own one day. And so I think we have to take those concerns into consideration in the planning of and intensification of our city.
I am running in order to reduce the cost of living for Kitchener residents. And namely in housing, I think that this means that we need to make sure that we have enough supply to meet our growing demand. And so for me, this means that we must be pro-development, and we must be willing to build more housing in the downtown core, and then also look at ways to intensify other areas of the city.
I think the biggest issue in Ward 10 is Tent City, and it's the plight of the homelessness. The short-term option provided by the Tent City and the encampment can only be that. Can be just a short-term solution to the problem. It requires coordination with the other levels of government. It requires a permanent fix which addresses the underlying causes for the fact that those residents do not have a home, and it requires us to make a home for everyone a paramount issue and a right that is recognized for the sake of all of the residents of the ward.
Yes, so I've been out door knocking, and a lot of what I'm hearing from people are issues around housing. So in our ward, right downtown Kitchener, there is a large disparity between the housing market and the housing crisis, and it's very visual. We have people living in tents, and we have brand new, very expensive condos and new builds happening. So yeah, there's a disparity between the two. I'd really like to see these two kind of ends of the housing issues work together. So, addressing homelessness and affordable housing, having all levels of government work together on these things, as well as looking at intensification and sustainability.
So there are a few key issues in Ward 10. Two of them are very, very big right now, safety and security. Safety and security, in a big general aspect of things, compose a lot of different things. Housing, safety issues, mental addictions, everything like that is kind of encompassed into this one phrase that we call safety and security. But those are the biggest thing that I want to tackle. Second thing I also want to tackle is, once again, the walkable downtown, where we make sure we don't lose any more green space on the sacrifice of building more high-density housing.
So the key issue in Ward 10, in my opinion, is the combined issue of housing affordability and availability with homelessness. And I think those two issues are interlinked enough that they kind of become one issue. And so throughout my tenure, if elected, I would really like to seriously look at ending the problem of homelessness within our region.
I think we actually have a lot of supply in one area. I'm noticing a lot of towers go up, and those towers tend to include one-bedroom apartments or one-bedroom condos. So one area is rentals. Having a partnership with development whereby we can have apartments that suit the needs of the community. So yes, we do have supply issues, but I feel that the supply issues have to do with affordable units, units that suit families, like 2 and 3 bedroom units, and also subsidized units. So my argument is that yes, we need to intensify as a region. We're growing, but I think that we have to partner with developers so that the supply can meet the demands that we have. We have to ensure that everyone is considered when we grow.
As our city grows, it's important that we need more development. The development that we have currently, I think that the city should continue to encourage. When I've been watching the news and reading the paper, I've seen that time and time again, a developer will come with a minor variance to what they would otherwise be allowed to build, and then the city council has rejected those proposals. So as a council person, I would be in favor of development. Also, I would be in favor of reducing the mandatory parking requirements for new developments, and I would be in favor of ending exclusionary zoning so that certain types of development that are more appropriate for the older neighborhoods of Kitchener would be allowed.
In Ward 10, we're very fortunate to have heritage and neighborhoods that must be maintained in order to maintain what makes Kitchener special. But there is a need to continue to expand the city and allow housing for all of the residents. So the expansion of homes must take into account the heritage and the culture or the history of the ward. But I would suggest that the use of the alternative living units, such as small homes or backyard homes that was passed about a year ago by the city, be further expanded and explored.
I think the city's strategies really need to include all levels of government. The issues we're seeing in the city, but in Ward 10 with housing, are world issues and local issues. I would really like to see the city remove some red tape so that nimble not-for-profits, examples being the Working Center, with their new build at 97 Victoria Street, and St. Peter's Church. Walking the other day, I saw a sign that they would have 40 units available. I'd love to see the city be able to remove some red tape so that they can continue to be nimble and responsive, but also keep lobbying our governments, our provincial and our federal and our regional governments, to have an all-hands-on-deck approach to be able to serve all levels of housing.
So kind of going into the walkable downtown a little bit. Walkable downtown, a general definition of it is, once again, safety and security. So if you don't feel safe, you're not going to walk. Security and beautification kind of go hand in hand. If the downtown's not beautiful, it's not going to work neither. So the neighbors have to feel proud, and the pride of the neighborhood has to be there. So one of the biggest, and I think the strategy is, we got to reserve and preserve as much green space as we got. We got to think about how we develop all of these high-rise and very high-density area. Not to say that we don't do it, but we have to do it smartly. We are losing a lot of green space for these things, and we just want to make sure that we don't lose any more, and we make sure that we are thinking about affordable housing in the midst of all these economic.
So I think when it comes to intensification, a lot of people get hung up on either, the reality being we either have sprawl or we have really tall skyscrapers, and that's not true. We need to get to the point where we have missing middle housing in pretty much every zone. We really should be looking at upzoning and infill to create gentle density rather than solely very dense corridors and then single-family detached homes.
I've been lobbying as a climate interested person for many years. I've talked to MPs, MPPs, organizations, stakeholders, institutions about climate policy. I think we need to take the same approach of collaboration, relationship building, and advocacy to address the issue of homelessness. Again, in my social work practice, and even as a neighbor, I've noticed lots of people in my neighborhood, families that I support through my role as a social worker, become evicted or rent-evicted. And I've heard about it at the doors, in which case where people are buying up a property, maybe they're saying a family member will move in, and then a family member doesn't move in, but the rent goes up sky high, or somebody gets a notice of eviction and they really don't know their rights. So as a city, we could do more to build awareness among renters about their rights. I think we have to prevent evictions. I believe preventing evictions prevents addictions, and I think we can do better to ensure that folks are cared about.
The city has a large role to play in homelessness, even though the shelter system is provided by the region. For instance, some of the new shelter programs that have been built, like the Better Tent City, have required municipal zoning variances. So as a council person, I would support those variances, and I would work with the region to be able to build the best possible shelter program that we can design. Thank you.
When it comes to the homeless and encampment, it is a regional issue. However, the solution of that problem, as well as many others, requires coordination with the different levels of government. The City of Kitchener can be a voice that is heard at that table, coming up with suggestions that provide living space for the residents to be worked out in coordination with the region, and as well as the provincial government with respect to funding.
Yes, I've been hearing a lot about this knocking on the doors. Again, the disparity in this issue is heavy. So I know that we have a caring community. I know from talking to the constituents that this is really important to them, and they would like to build a very comprehensive and caring approach. I'd love to see the city have a complete plan for housing, all levels, and an expansive plan that includes all levels of government.
And this is the big issue. This is the political loop that we are stuck in. Everybody's pointing at each other and saying, it's your problem, not my problem. It is a big issue. It's not something that we can solve overnight. But the biggest issue, I think, or the biggest challenge that we can help is affordable housing. And that doesn't mean that, you just say that it's $5 or $10. Affordable housing means that it's affordable for each one of them. And everyone has a different circumstances. So we got to understand what each one of these individual needs, and we have to work with our community area. We have a lot of support for all of these people, so we just have to work with them and understand how we can help each other out. And we have a very short amount of time. Winter is coming very, very fast. We have to really, really tackle this thing rather than just point and finger at each other and say it's your problem.
So I believe that even though it's the region's jurisdiction, we do need to be pushing for what we believe to be the solutions to this crisis. And I think that's a combination of a housing first approach that we should be advocating to the region and working for on our own, as well as investment in upstream protections for people. So mental health supports, addiction supports, renter supports, and preventing people from getting evicted. Those types of things will help stop people from becoming homeless. As well, with a housing first approach, we remove the problem of homelessness from the streets, and we get people where they need to be, which is into homes.
I have a business degree and a social work degree. I've worked in supporting entrepreneurship in my early career. I moved into settlement work where I created a friendship club and programming in our local YMCA, supporting new immigrants to feel welcome and included here. I've also transitioned from working and supporting immigrants and refugees to working with families in schools. And now as a volunteer, I do a lot of work to ensure that we have a safe and livable planet. So I think because I have experience in many different levels of the community, and as a resident, I'm well-rounded in addressing the many different issues that will come to City Council. I think I have the education, the experience, and the hard work and dedication it takes to ensure that everybody's voice is represented in City Council.
I have a background in economics and international studies. I'm hoping that my 2 degrees will help to give me knowledge-based skills to improve the quality of life for Kitchener residents. I also have a long history of working with marginalized sectors in the community. I have worked at the Ray of Hope Soup Kitchen preparing a meal for the last 10 years, and before that, I was a volunteer at the Supportive Housing of Waterloo and of the Out of the Cold program at First United Church.
As I said earlier, I have been an advocate for over 32 years, working as a trial lawyer. I believe that advocacy is an important part of the responsibility of a municipal councillor to advocate the positions of the city. I also believe solving problems and building a consensus are also important roles that a councillor can play. My experience as a deputy judge, as well as a mediator, does provide me with expertise in regard to problem solving and consensus building, and so those two characteristics together, the advocacy and the ability to solve problems and find solutions, and which also requires listening to different perspectives in order to reach those consensus and to solve those problems.
My commitment. I am a committed community developer. I've been working with local not-for-profits for over a decade. Places like Aislinn, Family and Community Services, Pathways to Education, Habitat for Humanity, the Working Center. And these are places, that are getting things done. They have a reputation of being socially innovative. And I would really love to apply those things to the city. I care and I love my community. And I would really love to serve this community in this way. I also really believe in my vision and our community. Like I said, this is my 2nd time running, and I'm running because I still believe in that vision. I've just been gaining experience and knowledge to be able to apply myself and serve Kitchener in this way.
So a little bit background about myself. We immigrated, my family and I immigrated to Canada back in the early 80s, we at the height of the Vietnamese boat people. I then moved from Ottawa to Manhattan to start my film career, and then I moved back here to Kitchener at early 2000. Since then, I operate a coffee shop with my wife, downtown Kitchener. We've been around for 18 years, and very, very happily, half of that, a lot of that is attributed to the community effort that's kind of helping us out. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of changes to the downtown and to the people and to the attitude of the people that visit in downtown. We operate and live downtown, so we can have a very, very different perspective rather than sitting somewhere else. We do know what the street need, and we do know the challenge of the area.
So while I have no direct political experience, I am a well-educated scientist, and I'm well-published, and so from that you can tell that I am hardworking, and I have an analytical, logical mind, which will be beneficial when analyzing problems that will come before our city. In addition to that, I have quite a bit of lived experience. As a trans queer woman with mental health struggles, having lived as a low-income resident for a number of years, I have empathy for those who are struggling, and I think that's important as well.